So hello everyone, today's first episode we're going to be talking about football, where we're going to be doing a roundup about all the season and all the season finishes.
We were talking about the top leagues in Europe and what we thought were the certain key points and topics that came out of the top leagues. And I think today the best thing we can start with is the Premier League. And Premier League is something that's very, sacred to me. I love following the Premier League. I don't know about you, Daz. I've watched all the Premier League games mainly.
Yeah man, this season the Premier League has been a very unique season. First things first, the biggest elephant in the room is coronavirus. So that's when the season was delayed, which happened for the first time in the Premier League era.
Yeah, but you know what? Everyone's sick to death of this coronavirus thing. Let's talk about how the season ended, what we thought were the highlights of the season, right? So, Premier League finished on a good note, Liverpool crowned champions.
Yes, after 30 years, and for the first time, Liverpool were the Premier League champions.
Damn, it felt good to watch Hendo carry the trophy this time. And really, after 2013, 2014, that nightmare, I'm just glad it was over. They finished with a record points total margin with Man City. I thought that this year was pretty much the antithesis of what Man City is all about. But in truth, also, I don't think that takes away from Liverpool's championship. I think it was a great title win, a good points haul, and overall great performance throughout the year.
Yeah, not only that, Liverpool have not dropped any points until February, where they drew against Manchester United. That's pretty much unheard of in the modern era of football. So what do you think about that?
I think that's amazing. It just goes to show the amount of dedication and work a team like this built over the last 4 years with Jurgen Klopp in charge. It's been an amazing run. And I also think it speaks to pretty much the current strength of Liverpool, that you don't need to do it the big money way. You can spend wisely, you can build, you can have a project, and still win the Premier League. So that's pretty much kind of destroyed that mythos of the big spenders always winning.
Yeah, that's true. And let's put into consideration, the Liverpool squad was essentially almost the same squad from a few years ago in the Europa League final, where they lost against Sevilla in 2016. There is a few changes, but it's more or less still the same team.
I would argue that right now the squad's not really the same anymore.
I mean, not anymore now, but in the season, or the start of the season, it was pretty much the same. There is a few difference with the goalkeeper, and also with Fabinho, and of course with Salah.
Van Dijk.
And Van Dijk, especially Van Dijk, the big man Dutch guy.
I think that's something that really showed Liverpool's strength throughout the season. I thought that also Man City tried to make a good account of it, but I think the injuries to Laporte kind of killed their chances to challenge for the title.
Yeah, especially Liverpool. They suffered a very hard break last season by losing it by 1 point. They got the record points for a team that finished runners-up with 97 points last season.
Yeah, that's what the championship race will be. I think next season is going to be interesting. We're already talking about next season because in 4 weeks there's going to be a season already. It's already coming. But so in the top 4 finish was Chelsea and United. Leicester falling out. I really feel for Leicester, man.
Yeah, Leicester lost it in the last game, where they were consistently in the top 4 for most of the season.
This doesn't do much justice for Brendan Rodgers, I think, because he's a very much maligned manager, despite a really good season that they had.
Yeah, they had a very good run before the corona. They were really in the top 4 for most of the season.
Even before the corona, their form was doing quite badly, but up till that run, before they lost Ricardo in the right back positions and the injuries to their back 4, they were really hitting it up there. But in the end, United came from behind, literally came from behind, and just took the spot. And I mean, United, what an end to the season they had. And they're still in the Europa League, which we'll talk about later. But I think it's really great that it's interesting to see how one player can change their fortunes this year.
Yeah, signing Bruno Fernandes from Portugal, and he really made a world of difference for Man United. So what do you think about him?
I think he's pretty much been the signing of the season.
Yeah, despite playing only half a season, he had a very good impact.
The half he did play, he was spectacular. You can't he was unplayable, so you can't bench him basically. And the whole team profited from it. Mason Greenwood You know, turned up, and you got Rashford, Marshall turned up. You know, the midfield. Pogba came back.
Talk about a player that changed the team to become a top four contender. Before he came, United were not really performing that well. So it's actually a different team when he came.
Exactly. I thought it was a completely different team, completely different side, more attacking, more goals. They scored a lot of goals towards the end of the season.
Yeah, a lot from set pieces and from direct football. Bruno had a very direct reason for that.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, basically they did really well. But look at the number 4 finish, which was Chelsea. Young season, Frank Lampard proving himself.
Yes, a young manager, first time in the Premier League, former player, of course. And keep in mind, they had a transfer ban this season, so they had to do minimum transfer.
I think Frank pretty much did a good job getting the team online. I think the main thing I would say is that Frank Lampard's the kind of guy, he's worked with the youth guys, and he's played a pivotal role in their development this year, especially Mason Mount, Reece James, and Tammy Abraham plays up front.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of youngsters got a chance to break out. Not only that, local lads from England as well, from the UK. So, what do you think about that?
I think it was a great achievement for them. I think, but towards the end there, they got a lot of problems still to fix. But this is the non-biased side of me talking here, because I'm, totally not biased about Chelsea at all. Disclaimer. I actually think honestly, like they did a good job this season. They still got some holes they need to fix, but overall they finished in the top 4. So what more could you ask for from a young side?
With what they had to work with no transfers and all that, I think they did a very good job. Now they can do transfers for next season. So let's see what Frank Lampard is able to do.
They've already done some business, which we will be talking about.
Yeah,
okay?
They did some transfers as well.
So that was the top 4. Let's talk about the bottom 3, the guys who got relegated this year.
Okay, so the bottom 3 that got relegated is Norwich, Bournemouth, and Watford. So unfortunately, those 3s, they are not really traditionally a Premier League team, so they'll be going to the Championship next season. So what are your thoughts, bro, on that?
I gotta say, for Norwich, they definitely punched above their weight. Lowest net spend in the Premier League for transfers.
Yeah.
Practically, really not that many new players when they first joined the Premier League.
And on the first season when it started, they had a pretty good run with one player called Timo Pukki, but in the second half of the season, he dropped down. So how do you think about that?
I think the form died off, and I think also the fact that they didn't have many scoring options kind of hampered him a bit. But I gotta say, despite all that, I thought they played some good stuff. Sometimes players like Buendia turned up. Jamal Lewis was a pretty decent player. Max Aarons, the Timo Pukki obviously, and a guy I really like, Todd Cantwell, who I think is going to be a pretty good mainstay in the Premier League once they decide where it is he's going. But yeah, Norwich is pretty much they're going down, but they've already made some really big transfers, and they made a lot of transfers after they went down. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. There's a whole thing about Jamal Lewis as well, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, pretty much I thought Norwich unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. If you're not one of the,
it was predictable that they are going to struggle in the Premier League, and they did struggle, as you can obviously. They finished last.
Yep.
And so, what the second club? Bournemouth.
Yeah, Bournemouth was the one this season, probably the casualty of. I think this is where the situation where when you have a team and you don't diversify or move into a different style of play, and you maintain the same team, they punched above their weight for years, and it's been pretty good management and play style from them to stay this long. But now it's the end. Eddie Howe has left the club. I thought that a lot of their players are on the way out. The centre back's already gone, Nathan Ake, and I think a few to follow. But they've already put Tyndall in charge there.
He was the assistant, right?
Exactly.
Assistant for Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe actually did a very good project with Bournemouth. He was with Bournemouth for more than 5 years, 6 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And he really did build up Bournemouth to become a legit, proper Premier League team. But unfortunately, this season is just not his luck.
I'm interested to see how Bournemouth will do in the Championship. I think once they've sold some players and then replaced some players, we'll see how they grow. I think something like this is good for them as well.
Yeah, because they did build up for the future with Eddie Howe on his time in the Premier League. So let's see how they recover from this.
So the final team that went down was Watford, and I thought out of the three teams that went down, this was a case of shooting yourself in the foot, literally.
Yes, they were the finalists of the FA Cup last season, so they will be coming in this season on a high, but then again they got relegated. So for me, it's all about form. They did not deliver on form on that, but they do have a lot of quality players. So what do you think about that, sir?
I really just think that they really shot the gun too quickly, because when Nigel Pearson took over the club halfway through, they were pretty much on a spiral. And when he came in, he turned it around. They got good results. They got wins, including a memorable 3-0 victory.
Yeah, they were the ones giving Liverpool their first loss.
Exactly, yeah.
They
And
beat Liverpool.
they were in pretty good form until that point. And then something happened, staggered. They returned from Corona. They fought to have the season null and voided. Troy Deeney did too much talking.
Yeah, Troy Deeney wanted it null and void, and he was boycotting the training for the restart. It's just
Honestly,
pretty bad.
Honestly, like we spoke about this before, right? If Troy Deeney had just not talked and just done what he's supposed to do, he wouldn't be in that situation. I just think that the club in general is run in a very piss poor way. I don't understand the manager selection. They think they can sack managers. They buy players in a weird way.
I mean, that's true. Like Nigel Pearson got half a season and then he got sacked.
I don't even think Nigel Pearson even got half a season. Less than half a season.
Yeah, and then Hayden Mullins came in, but Hayden Mullins is probably going to get replaced anyway. So I mean,
he is replaced as we speak.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But it's unfair for Nigel Pearson.
It is. It was very unfair for Nigel Pearson.
If it wasn't for Corona, I think they would have been staying up. I think so, maybe.
I actually don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's the owners. I think the owners had a bad relationship, and what happened was they didn't see eye to eye on something, and they were like, "You don't want to be here? Forget you." You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then now their coveted winger, Sa, is going to be sought after. So there's been a lot of rumors about him leaving.
Yep. Well, we'll talk about that in the transfer segment, but yeah, that's pretty much the Premier League in a nutshell. So I think that's something that the Premier League was like. It's a pretty good season. So moving on.
So moving on, we're going to be talking about